Instead, his existence concluded with a solitary discharge during what initial accounts had casually characterized a standard intrusion. Over the following few moments, we revisit the professional journey of Daniel Cumillo, the fictional former police administrator whose distinguished profession influenced the protection environment of his nation, and then scrutinize the perplexing situations of his concluding evening. We'll analyze the 3 crucial protection failures that enabled such a catastrophic violation to transpire, even in the dwelling of somebody who had extensively existed beneath supreme-tier safeguarding. But as we investigate who benefited to acquire the greatest from his demise, reflect on this. If somebody with his expertise could be seized unprepared at residence, what significant safety deficiency are regular individuals most liable to disregard every day? Before his advancement to the leadership of the national authorities, Cumillo was recognized as a structured and persistent personality in the resistance period clandestine movement. That background made the silent, sudden character of his demise all the more challenging to comprehend. He endured turbulent governmental generations, brutal suppressions, and murder endeavors only to be eliminated in what appeared like an ordinary unlawful interaction. His progression through the enforcement structure was almost theatrical, characterized by rigid structure, tactical reasoning, and a standing for dismantling well-affiliated unlawful organizations without pause. Supporters commended his vigor, but that identical resolve produced formidable adversaries, some concealed profoundly within the department, others functioning comfortably on the exterior. As administrator, Cumillo established comprehensive anti-graft transformations that secured him the community's respect as much as intense internal bitterness. He expelled dishonest personnel, demolished unlawful channels within governmental establishments, and declined to yield in the presence of governmental burden. Paradoxically, the precise individual assigned with the safeguarding of national commanders frequently minimized his own protection. He frequently declined supplementary security personnel, mentioning that overtly observable safeguarding merely positioned separation between him and the residents he was assisting. That choice, honorable as it may have been, created a weakness that a calculated, well-prepared opponent could utilize. In a flash, based on accounts, the peaceful evening serenity of existing at residence transformed to brutality. Only one assailant took position, effortlessly bypassing obsolete warning mechanisms and boundaries with minimal opposition. The interaction inside was immediate, deliberate, and excessively exact for a theft mishandled. To intensify circumstances, the initial crisis reaction was significantly delayed tragic deficiency that could sacrifice him his existence. The simplicity of the assault combined with competence communicated not of a frantic lawbreaker but a specialist capable enough to make the elimination appear like ordinary wrongdoing. The community responded immediately emotionally. Astonishment transformed to fury. Doubt escalated rapidly. Numerous discovered it inconceivable that such an instantly identifiable personality could perish in such an unconventional manner. The authorized examination adhered initially to the theft narrative, the most practical and least comforting clarification. The population advocated for the designation of a concentrated division, contending that in the assassination fashion elimination existed unmistakable indicators of a focused mission. The initial intervals now witnessed the exclusion of essential examining protocols and the probable forfeiture of potential proof potentially permanently. The initial significant protection collapse concentrated on Cumillo's boundary. His residence's exterior protections were positioned, but had not been constructed to postpone a resolved danger. Excessive vegetation generated organic concealment locations. Recording equipment directed at expansive territories rather than restriction locations. Openings surrounding utility passages provided simple pathways of advancement. What ought to have been a multi-tiered postponement framework became a rapid silent passage location. An assailant who ought to have been delayed for moments penetrated in within instants. But the most disturbing component wasn't the barriers or recording equipment. It was the individuals inside them. Over duration, Cumillo had employed domestic laborers, groundskeepers, and upkeep staff with substantial passage to confidential schedules and structural deficiencies. There is no proof of malevolence on their portion, but every assurance he demonstrated in others furnished a chance for anyone seeking to obtain confidential intelligence. Expert assailants infrequently have to demolish barriers when they can examine day-to-day patterns of an objective. Another prospect overshadowed the examination. Cumillo had preserved comprehensive documentation during his anti-graft initiative's archives that incriminated powerful individuals and demolished profitable unlawful channels. After his demise, the initial matter allegedly examined through wasn't his possessions, but his confidential materials. That particular element alone transferred doubt toward an intention far beyond theft. Perhaps an endeavor at eliminating proof, suppressing a prospective informant, or shielding those endangered by what he understood. Protection authorities from overseas took awareness as well. Cumillo had partnered with global organizations on programs that combat cross-border wrongdoing, and his demise transmitted out a troubling communication of how distant structured systems might extend. It emphasized the exposure of anyone who confronts established graft. Those who struggle most intensely frequently discover themselves remaining solitary at the precise instant they require safeguarding greatest. The scientific indications or absence thereof illustrated an even more transparent representation. The wrongdoing location was dubiously sanitized of identification marks or scattered proof. Only one projectile remnant remained, as if abandoned deliberately. Evaluators highlighted that such precise exactness indicates expert preparation. Arbitrary intruders merely do not sanitize after themselves, nor do they select minimalist locations of influence, nor do they disregard possessions that could be in immediate access and effortlessly taken. Everything about the location contradicted the mishandled theft characterization. Initial accounts conflicted with each other as the journalism made a frantic pursuit for responses. As soon as the examining reporters commenced highlighting discrepancies, the burden on administrators escalated excessively substantial to disregard. Shortly following, a far more capable operations squad was designated. But by then, much of the essential initial evidence had become unavailable. But one of the most substantial contributors to Cumillo's exposure originated not from mechanical but from sentimental exhaustion. After resisting the dangers for generations, he desired a straightforward regular existence. That desiring manifested in reduced confidential protection, loosened schedules, and an aspiration to provide his household a perception of regularity. For numerous elevated danger individuals, this transformation is typical and tragically hazardous. His demise compelled discussions across the nation over how retired commanders, examiners, and transformers are shielded. Numerous contended that anyone who formally interrupted significant unlawful operations remains a perpetual objective. Summons for compulsory post-duty safeguarding escalated more vocal, recognizing dangers do not withdraw merely because a commander departs from position. Perhaps the most transparent proof that this was no regular intrusion is that nothing of substantial worth was removed. Ornaments, electronics, currency, everything remained undisturbed. The only resource focused was Cumillo himself. That solitary reality more than any other demolishes the theft hypothesis completely. The applicable instructions from this catastrophe extend far and extensively well beyond one individual or one occupation. A robust boundary, a meticulously examined internal network, and constant confidential alertness constitute the basis of meaningful protection. Diminishing any one of these tiers creates anyone, community personality or confidential resident, vulnerable. Ultimately, Cumillo is a warning narrative about the expense of righteousness and how one must perpetually transform to remain protected against progressively advanced dangers. His elimination was instead not an action of fate, but three avoidable exposures that converged together. Everyone is at danger from those who function in the darkness and can discover methods to protect their own security by identifying these designs.